Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life, won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.
How to maintain the connection after children enter the picture. We started the conversation with the Cuffs. A couple, they've been married for 5 years with 2 princesses. I like the sound of that. Yes. Somebody might be listening and saying, well, he started out saying, 5 years of wedded bliss. So they can talk because I'm not as creative. I'm probably, not as resourceful, to do all of what Brian just said, or I don't have such a supportive husband. What would be your response to them to say, hey, this is how you can still maintain that connection when you have children?
I think it all boils down to communication. Brian and I have had to have a lot of talks and a lot of venting and a lot of us trying to ensure that we don't just sweep things under the rug to fester. But even if it may hurt for a little while, we try to ensure that we say how we feel. Because I think this is something that I've learned over the 5 years is that when we keep things bottled up, it makes things worse.
Okay.
So if it is that you find that your partner is not being as creative as you would want them to be or spontaneous, tell them. Tell them some of the things that you would like to see them do. Because when I met Brian wasn't this kind of person. And he can tell you. Maybe it was a lack of him seeing it when he was growing up. But my father, he would we have a thing called Husband Day that I celebrate every year. I celebrate Brian every year. It's called Husband Day. So I choose a different day out of each year so that he doesn't know what day it is. Yes. So he knows it's coming, but he doesn't know when. The first husband day, what would I do for the first husband day? Was that time I flew you out? That was the first husband day? The first husband day. Yeah. No. That was the first one. So the first husband day, I flew him out. I booked the ticket. I reserved where we were staying, everything, and made sure that he was available for those days. Yeah, because I signed up his leave forms.
Okay.
Yeah, so I knew when it would be. And he came home and I gave him some options to choose from. All of them were the same thing. I just was making it exciting like Jeopardy or something. And I laid him out on the floor and told him that he can choose one, and anyone he chose would be the gift. All of them was the same time. So, and he chose it, and he saw the ticket for our flight, which was the next morning. So that was the first one. The second one, we flew out again, and for this one though, it was for vacation. But when we got into the hotel room, I made arrangements because he's a photographer. I bought him a brand new set of camera equipment, including a camera. And they were all laying on the bed. And he thought we were in the wrong room. And I'm like, no, we're in the right room. So that was the second husband day. Now, by the third husband day rolled around, we had our first daughter. I think that year it was just a matter of me bringing him to a spa. We could not be so lavish anymore.
To do the flag out bit again.
No, that could work again. So at that time, because it was soon after, so I just took him to a spa. I sat there and waited until he was finished. I think he got a massage, and that was it for the third husband day and some other stuff. The fourth one, I think I can't even remember right now. No.
We went to a hotel.
We went to a hotel. No, that was before
Iconic.
we got married. Not before we got married. Before we had children. We had gone to a hotel for the first one. And so it followed the sequence. But for this year, last year, husband day was just me giving him, he was starting the new job. And I gave him a personalized journal with his name in gold with a gold plate, and it also said Happy Husband Day, because I was so busy with 2 children, but I know the things that he appreciates. And so I always do my very best.
I appreciate her. I don't even appreciate any gift. I don't even need any more gifts for husband.
Yeah, I did my best to ensure that I gave him something that would be meaningful, even though we wouldn't fly out or even though we wouldn't, yeah. But at that time, we were preparing for baby number 2 because I did that one December. I had baby February. I couldn't fly out. I'm not flying while pregnant. That's something that I just don't do. And I couldn't manage the long traveling, so I couldn't go to a hotel. I couldn't manage the sitting down for so long. So I had to sit and think about, okay, what can I do? So even though the dynamics of marriage really changed, we were so carefree. First year we got a hotel, second year we fly out, third year we fly out. We realized
your priorities have changed.
Yeah. And
the money has changed.
And the money has changed too.
Yeah.
So I no longer have this whole of money. I can just say, all right, let's just book a ticket and fly here or fly there. We have to think about, all right, Bria's going to school. She has to get stuff. Bella is in the picture. We have to prepare for her. So the dynamics have changed, but we have made a concerted effort to ensure that we do as best as we can to keep the flame burning. Yeah, go ahead.
But let me jump on something quickly. You were saying that what about if husbands are not this way or something to that effect?
Right.
I believe that I think sometimes, let me make sure I say sometimes, that's a cop-out.
Okay.
You know, from men who say, you know, boy, I'm not that way, or I'm not this way, I'm not this, I'm not that. Because I believe when men are in pursuit of a woman, they go all out. They put out all the stops. They get creative. They get they borrow money if they need to borrow. They borrow them bridging, clothes, car, anything. They go all out to get her. So when they get her now, the onus is on you to ensure that not only that she stays, but to ensure that she remains happy, right? So the reality is you have to do whatever it is that makes her happy. So and it's not even just about her being happy. It's also about sacrificing.
Yes.
I think that at the end of the day, when 2 people get married, they're aiming towards a goal. For me, that goal is called success or happiness. And happiness and success is whatever you think it is and whatever you think it needs to be. But both of you are striving towards success and happiness.
Right.
My road or my vision to getting to success and happiness is going to be different from my wife's. Right? She might think, let's say, I need a car while I just want a bicycle. But at the end of the day, it gets me to where I'm going and I'll be happy. But we now have to sit and meet and understand that how I go about getting you this gift might be different from how you would go about getting me.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm trying to make you happy and you're trying to make me happy.
Yeah.
So if you
I heard an older
understand...
couple with that one time, if you focus on the other person.
Yeah, and that's very important. It's similar to how we treat our relationship with God. I heard when I was younger that if you give God your best, he'll give you his best. So I don't focus on trying to get my best from God. I focus on giving him my best. Similarly, same thing in a marriage. If I take care of everything she needs, she takes care of everything I need, then everybody gets what we both need.
And I don't want anybody to think that we're perfect or
what?
Not even close. But we make it work. And we're in it for the long haul. So even if me vex with him and I talk to him for a few hours or may have him up for something, we know that at the end of the day, we're still going to try and make this work. And I think too, with having 2 young children in the picture, because Bria is 3 years old and Bella is 3 months old. So a lot of things have come into play, a lot more things. We thought it's a little bit easier this time around, to be honest, because we have the experience with the first one.
Right.
But this also takes a lot more effort as it relates to the side of marriage.
Yeah, so whatever we would sacrifice with normally, this is double the sacrifice.
Yes,
whatever
this is
we
double
would
the sacrifice.
Be patient with, it's double the patience. Whatever we would be forgiving, it's double the forgiveness. Because you're being a husband and a wife, but you're also being a parent at the same time. It's not a separate vacuum. So if there's an issue with the baby or the baby is sick and tired and it's frustrating you and then she comes, you don't take out that frustration on her, right? Because it's 2 different situations, but it's still in the same marriage.
Still in the same marriage.
Right? So it pulls on the strings of marriage, but that's why I said earlier that your marriage has to evolve or your relationship has to evolve because you have to understand that at the end of the day, you still want music. Right? Sometimes you have to, as I said, the guitar, you have to turn the strings this way, you have to tighten, you have to loosen, but you still want music. So at the end of the day, to get the music, you're still going to have to be plucking on the strings.
Yeah. You said a lot, but if it is that somebody's still sitting and they're saying, yes, Basillia, yes, Brian, I hear you, but what is the one thing, if they got nothing else from all of what you said just now, what is the one thing you'd want to leave with them, to say, hey, if you got nothing else, this is it right here for both of you?
Okay, it's a given that if you don't have God, so we're not talking about God, right? Because that's a given.
Okay.
That's the
You need
foundation.
God. Foundation, middle string,
everything. The whole works.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we don't give practical advice to people. We just stay all spiritual, and so people are still lost after
Pray
the
about
fact.
it, yeah.
Pray about it.
God will
Okay.
help you, don't worry.
All right. So what do you need to do to help yourself? And faith doesn't walk. Faith by itself, you have to do the work, right?
That's right.
So apart from God, I think for me, it is a matter of ensuring that you have the line of communication is open.
Okay.
Yeah, because after Bria, I had postpartum anxiety, meaning it wasn't depression, but I was becoming anxious over things that I wouldn't normally
Be anxious
about. And for me, at first, I felt like I didn't want to say anything to Brian because I don't want him feel like, oh, me are going to depression. Lord have mercy, look what me cause. And, I didn't want to tell him at first, but then he started to feel the wrong end of my anxiety. But if I had told him from the get-go, from when I realized that something was going wrong, if I had told him from that time, maybe he could have helped to, help me with the Lord as it relates to handling the anxiety. But I didn't tell him right away. And it has come over into baby number 2 as it relates to me just ensuring that I keep the line of communication open. So a lot of times it's not always about talking face to face. Sometimes I WhatsApp him and tell him how I feel. Or the other night I said I was going to send him a long email to tell him, how I feel about a particular thing. So however you feel most comfortable with getting your feelings across, yes, you make sure that you keep the line of communication open.
Okay.
And there's this book that some years ago before I was getting married, just like any exam coming up you have to study, I believe. Yeah, and it's the 5 love languages. So I think it's important to know your partner's love language. So no matter what's happening in the relationship, no matter all that you're facing, if you are aware that this is important to that person, then no matter what happens, you're going to focus on that. So even if you're not able to give, let's say if her primary is gifts
Giving.
and their secondary is presence, as in physical presence. If you're not able to give one, you give the other, right? If you're not able to give both, you try and even every now and then give one, because you have to do whatever it takes to ensure that this remains constant and consistent. It's like driving a vehicle.
Yeah.
When you go service it, you can't just change the oil alone. You have to think about the other parts. So it's the same thing. I can't just focus on being daddy and ensuring that we have a seatbelt and we have car seat and we have this and that, but there's no gas in the vehicle that carries the marriage along. So I might not be able to do it every time. And as she said with the husband day, it might not be the same way it used to be. But because we've evolved and because we understand that these children of ours are priorities, now time and effort has to be put there.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't do anything or there's no husband day for 2020,
2019 don't finish.
I'm just saying. I've had husband day every single day. Right. So it's all about reprioritizing and focusing on what really matters.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Basillia.
You're welcome.
And Brian. They know this, so even if I say this publicly, they know. When I see them sometimes my bad mind gene gets very active. And I have said
envy the good things.
Yes, and I am. And I have said to Basillia, I want a Brian too.
Yes.
But until God sends me the Brian. Yes. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
This was Making It Last podcast with your host, Noreen Daly. Until next time.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.